Good evening, my name is Anthony Watson, and this is my geography timeline. I'm going to give a brief description of each teak before I do it. The first one is locate places on the school campus and describe their relative locations. So obviously you can see on here is the Bronx Trail. The arrow is the library. The Arhu building is right above it. And then the Union is to the right of it on that map. And you can see the Bronx Trail that goes around it. The track and field is over on the major left all the way over there where the arrow is. So that's where that is. I also use terms including over, under, blah, blah, blah. And okay, for the C, identify tools that aid in determining location. Obviously, a map is one of them. This is a really good one. And also now in today's technology, using a cell phone that has Android or that has maps, it can give you general directions where everything is at and where to find it. It's really good for determining location because GPS can determine where you are, where things are, where you need to make turns at. And like, for example, today I used GPS to find out where a certain Domino's is at. And there's a Domino's up on Nolana, and then the IMAS Museum is up there also. So GPS is really good for determining what you want and everything. Thank you. Alright, now for the first grade teak, we're going to be using locate places using the 4 cardinal directions. Obviously from San Antonio, you can see San Marcos is to the north of it. Houston is to the east of it. And Corpus Christi is to the southeast of it. So locate the community, Texas, and the United States on maps and globes. Well, obviously this is the state of Texas. We couldn't fit the United States on this one, but we'll go with Texas for this one. Identify and describe the physical characteristics of places such as landform, bodies of water. Obviously in this one, you can see that the Colorado River runs right through Austin. And then you have the Brazos River, which runs really close to Houston and Fort Worth. And then we have the Pecos River, which is really close to Odessa. And that's for the second grade. Thank you very much. This is for the second grade teak. And for this one, we're locating major places of significance, including the local community, Texas. So obviously in this one, you can spot McAllen, which is the local community. You have Brownsville down below. Obviously, these are local. And then we have the state capital, which is Austin, which you can see right in the middle, which is right next to the Gulf of Mexico. The U.S. capital, and some major cities in Texas is obviously San Antonio, Austin, Waco is a little bit major, San Angelo, a little bit up north of that a little bit, you'd find Dallas. Corpus Christi is obviously one, which is very nice. Let's see, what else? The coast of Texas is the Gulf of Mexico. You can spot number 5. You can see South Padre Island a little bit over down there also. And that should do it for about this part. Here are some ways that we can replenish natural resources. Obviously by having soil, plants, building more plants and just more trees in general. And then obviously the air, some renewable, obviously using the solar panels. And just not bring in as much of the trees and cutting them down and stuff. Some of the other methods explain how people depend on the physical environment, which is definitely important for renewable resources. Obviously, in the valley, we depend on oranges and different kinds of crops. That way we can have food that we can eat also. And plus the natural environment, if we don't get very much rain, then obviously we're not going to have very much food, which affects our economy and stuff. So the environment and everything that we rely on, it's what we rely on, and it depends. So if we don't get rain, everything dries up, and it becomes very critical. So we must keep the environment in mind and make sure to keep our renewable resources going and keeping it in mind. And this is something that humans can do in general. So thank you. In this map, you can see that in the midwestern part is the Rocky Mountains, which are right next to Salt Lake and the Grand Canyon. And then right in the eastern part, near the Ohio River and stuff, is the Mississippi River. You can see it's a little bit north of the red United States of America, and a little bit south of the Ozark Plateau. And you can't quite see it, but it should be right near the Brazos River is Austin. In the scale above, which it shows kilometers, I would say probably from the Ohio River to the Mississippi River is about 600 kilometers. Unfortunately, in this view, you can't really see the scale very much. Obviously, in some of the other places, you can see on here, using the grid, you can find out how far something is. So thank you very much. In this slide, you can see that Texas is mainly made of 4 or 5 main parts. Obviously, you can see the Gulf Coastal Plain, which is obviously next to the coast. You have the Central Plains, which is the central part of Texas, the High Plains, and then the mountains and the basins, which is closer to New Mexico and stuff. And then you have, obviously, the Gulf Coastal Plain has a lot more water and is better for crops and stuff. So that would be awfully good. That's about it. This is some of the things that can happen on the environment. Obviously, water pollution, habitat destruction, and local air purity, especially in the major cities where there's lots of smog and stuff. And especially habitat, because there's not too many habitats for animals and other creatures, so they have to go somewhere else. And especially with the bigger cities and as they get bigger. In this photograph, you can see all the state capitals, which is Austin, Texas, Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, Des Moines, Iowa, Lincoln, Nebraska. And the Great Plains states are in South Dakota, Nebraska, Kansas, and Oklahoma. And then some of the reasons why the state capitals are where they are is because it's in the central of the state, where in between where the main populations is. So let's use Pennsylvania, for example. It's between Pittsburgh and Philadelphia. So that's the reason for the state capitals. All right, and now for the 6th grade and the final one. On this map, we can identify Iran, which is south of Russia. Obviously, you can see Russia because it's very huge. We have China, we have Australia, Brazil is southeast of the United States, Canada is north of the United States, and you can see pretty much, hopefully with a bigger picture, you'll be able to see a lot of the countries. You have South Africa, which is that big, huge continent. You have South America, which is where Brazil is, and various stuff also. Okay, where is it located? We're going to go with Russia, because Russia is this big, huge mass, which we always wonder, why is it so huge? Well, I had to look it up, and Russia was part of, I guess, basically expanded because of annexation, meaning they took over other parts because the other countries were weak. They also had let me see. They also expanded through the different czars that were different czars that took over, and they're a warring country. And it also says, describe ways in which technology influences human interaction. I know I'm going pretty, but I have to get it fitted in. And basically for this technology, we can use different cell phone and different technology. So using VR, using the internet and just talking to each other and learning information.